just before coming to the pits, was running in 8th place. Now, as he comes up to speed, we'll ride with Scott Goodyear. Here's that long curving straightaway. Clear sailing ahead for Scott Goodyear, so he can come fully up to speed now, and just begins to slam down through the gears again. And there's Jimmy Vasser making a move onto the inside. You may have noticed, too, when we were riding with Bobby Rahal and Danny Sullivan, that the 75 car of Willie T. Ribbs was in the middle of the fight as they came into the first corner, and every inch the Sportsman, Willie T. was able to move off the line and let that battle for the lead of the race come through. So at the front of the order, it is Paul Tracy, followed by Emerson Fittipaldi, then Danny Sullivan. Bobby Rahal is close behind as we look through the entire top 12. Sullivan sits in 3rd place. Fittipaldi just ahead of him in 2nd. And Paul Tracy, Fittipaldi's teammate, is the leader of this run. As we move now to the closing laps here at Exhibition Place. Paul Tracy in front. 90 laps complete, 13 to go. Emerson Fittipaldi 2nd. Then the Gallows car, Danny Sullivan. And then Bobby Rahal with perhaps his best run of the season. Then Al Unser Jr. driving for Rick Gallows. And in 6th position, it's Robbie Gordon driving for A.J. Foyt.
Now you can watch Paul Tracy right there on top of the screen, red-white car. And notice how careful he's really being. You know, he has about 6 seconds approximately on ammo, and he's really trying not to make any mistake. I don't think I've ever seen him try quite this hard, Paul.
Let's go pit side again, Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, remember at the top of the show we talked about the fact that Team Penske was trying to close on Nigel Mansell as we continue to watch the great run by the Gallows team as well. Well, this is coming to fruition. Paul Tracy leads, Emerson Fittipaldi is in 2nd, but they have radioed to Fittipaldi that if he should stay in 2nd place and hold off the closing Danny Sullivan, he will take the points lead. Fittipaldi is aware of it, and I'm just going to assume that he may have backed out of the throttle just a little bit to take over the points lead rather than the victory.
Well, of course, Jack, the team would love to see Paul Tracy win here in his home city, and I think also there's a risk that if Paul were to slow up to try to hand the lead to Emerson, Danny is so close behind Emerson right now that the whole strategy could backfire.
It would be a very popular win for Paul Tracy to win here in his home. They have never had a Canadian win an IndyCar race in Canada, so it would be a first. Jack Arute?
Well, Sam, you know, one of the things you got to remember, though, about Team Penske is when it gets down to the short parts of the race, they don't call the shots. It's left to each of the drivers. As much as Tracy would like to win, believe me, Emerson Fittipaldi has not let it go unnoticed that he shares 2 victories, as does Paul Tracy. He feels he's the leader of this team, and he should have more victories. So believe me, he's not backing off because of that. He's backing off because of points for the championship.
Fittipaldi is 6 seconds behind Paul Tracy. Here is the battle that continues between Rahal, Al Unser Jr., and Danny Sullivan. Sullivan in 3rd. The fight is for 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Now keep in mind, there's little Al behind Bobby Rahal. Keep in mind, pit stops are over. No more pit stops. Whatever they have for tires, that's what they'll finish with. So the guys are all weighing out everything with the other guy on do they have something left, or are they going to have to sit where they are?
Of course, on this circuit, so tight, so narrow, and yet so very fast, the slower traffic can definitely figure into the finish of this race.
Tires are one of the biggest problems as far as the handling goes. When the rubber goes down on the tires, when it gets close to the core, they don't stick as well. So passing becomes a whole lot harder.
Paul Tracy with Kevin Kogan and Hiro Matsushita behind him. And here comes Fittipaldi. Johnny Unser in there, too. How does Johnny Unser fit into the Unser family, Bobby?
Well, Johnny is my brother Jerry, the one that was killed in Indianapolis many years ago. This is his youngest son. who's decided to make a career out of automobile racing. And by golly, he's looking pretty good today. He's found a sponsorship with the Ruger Firearms Company. And believe it or not, Bill Ruger himself came here to watch the race today.
He shot one of the biggest antelopes in history, has a high standing in the Boone Crockett book. Quite a hunter and an outdoorsman like a lot of you hunters, right, Bobby?
Yes, he certainly is. And he lives in Idaho, not New Mexico.
Paul Tracy at the front. His teammate Fittipaldi in second place is now beginning to close on Tracy. He was 6 seconds behind just 2 laps ago. Now he has closed to 4 seconds behind the leader of the race, the number 12 car of Paul Tracy. The crowd definitely anticipating a win here. Paul Tracy has been cheered by this crowd throughout the weekend, as have the other Canadians, Ross Bentley and Scott Goodyear.
The blue and white car that you're seeing there, of course, Kevin Cogan having an exceptional run for a man in great pain. I talked to Kevin. He's having a big plate taken out of his leg very prematurely, much earlier than he had planned to, because he finds he just can't drive with it in there without having to suffer through enormous pain.
Sam, didn't you tell me the other day that the plate just doesn't bend with the sides of the car inside, and that's just blocking the blood or something in his leg?
Right, he has to drive by plan. He can't drive by reflex. He has to say, by this point in the track, I'm going to have the throttle wide open. Not good.
So on board, 4th place, Bobby Rahal, Danny Sullivan in front. And what is shaping up for a good battle at the front of the field as Willie T. Ribbs gets over, brushes the wall, and climbs out of the car.
He'd been running 16th.
That should be far enough off the line that here at lap 95, they will not go to a full course yellow to get that car cleared. So 94 laps are complete. We'll be back for the finish. As suggested, there will be no full course yellow. They're going to leave Willie T. Ribbs' car right where it is since it's not in danger. So here's the way they line up. And you'll notice that in traffic, Emerson Fittipaldi has fallen back by nearly 3 seconds. He was up much closer to Paul Tracy. 97 laps are complete. The entire front of the field is now beginning to close in on one another. And Danny Sullivan and Bobby Rahal have been battling close to one another and should be in contact for competition shortly. There's Willie T. Ribbs' situation that got him into the wall with the left front of the car. He is okay and out of the car. They will go yellow flag in that area of the race course only.
As we watch Paul Tracy leading this race, one can't forget it was a couple of years ago that he came on board the Penske organization ostensibly as a test driver. Now he is really bearing the fruits of some of the testing and the work that he did through months and months of